angle of the mandible. So the first thing you need to do is to locate the angle of the mandible correctly. Palpate on its posterior border, inferior border, until you find where the jaw is changing direction. Then come forwards over the masseter muscle. The person clenches their masseter muscle, you'll be able to find a nice groove just as its anterior border. And this is your stomach 5. To locate stomach 6, palpate the posterior and inferior border of the mandible to find the angle of the mandible where the jaw is changing direction. Come 1 finger breadth superior and anterior to the angle of the mandible. When the person clenches their jaw, the masseter muscle comes up. When they relax, your finger will fall into the nice dip that is stomach 6.
Ito dapat pangangahin na yung pasyente. Doon sa para makita yung point.
Stomach 4 is located 4 fen lateral to the corner of the mouth. It's in the nasolabial groove. Have the person smile, and you can see this point moves nicely into that groove.
Yung isa nga, ito naman mag-smile.
Vein 24 is on the anterior midline in the centre of the mentolabial groove.
Conception vessel siya, di ba? Part pa siya ng conception vessel hanggang sa vagina, no?
D26 is on the anterior midline at the junction of the upper third and lower 2/3 of the philtrum.
Emergency point.
Ano naman part ng governing vessels?
Palikod.
Ito yung pag napasound yung client mo or may nakita ka sa NPR, kaibigan mo.
Emergency.
Maganda yan, emergency.
Stomach 7 is located directly superior to stomach 6. Palpate upwards until you come to the zygomatic arch,
Gamitin mo yung
and then come back down until you fall into a dip, which is just anterior to the condyloid process of the mandible.
Oh, naunahan mo ako
Large intestine 20 is located in the nasolabial groove, level with the midpoint of the alanasi. The alanasi is the nostril. So find the superior border of the nostril, the inferior border of the nostril, hence the midpoint, come out into the nasolabial groove.
Ano sa may mga problema sa ilong, yung baradong ilong, rhinitis, allergy,
sinusitis.
Gallbladder too.
When a person opens their jaw, a groove opens up anterior to the tragus. Gallbladder 2 is located in this groove, anterior to the infratragic notch.
Ito yung auricular therapy na ito eh. Banda na ito sa auricular therapy. Sa mga nakated kayo lang.
Gallbladder 7 is located 1 finger breadth directly anterior
Maganda ito sa
to
may
Sanjiao
mga
20.
headache or migraine. Pero pwede yung gamitin yung pang massage or pwede yung gamitin yung yung pang massage. Ito sa may facial paralysis or may
Stomach 3 is located inferior to a pupil looking directly forwards, level with the lower border of the alanasi. To find this point, you need to stand directly in front of the person, have them look forwards, think of the line running through their pupil and coming down, and marking this point on the level with the inferior border of the alanasi. This point is frequently just lateral to the nasolabial groove.
angular. Ito pag dito
2 is located 1 cm inferior to the pupil looking directly forwards. To find palpate inferior to the pupil by about 1 cm,
but you have to be very
and
careful
dip,
kasi baka
which is the infraorbital foramen. Don't press too hard though, because there's a nerve there, and it can be quite tender.
Yan, sa mata yan. Yan, mas delikado.
Masakit siya. Masakit to. No, ingat lang
Bladder
din
1
kayo sa
is located one thing medial and superior to the inner canthus of the eye. The person scrunches up their eyes. A nice depression forms here, and that's where you're going to find
Ingat
bladder
lang kayo
1.
if you're using this gadget. You have to be very careful.
Malapit sa...
Bladder 2 is located in a depression at the medial aspect of the eyebrow. Palpate on the supraorbital margin until you locate the nice dip at the
Makita rin
medial
sa
end
may
of the eyebrow.
migraine, pag may sipon ka, may
That's your
daradang
bladder
ulong, or may allergy ka, rhinitis na tinatag maganda yan. Masakit ang ulo mo,
Yan, sa mata din yan.
matayo din yan.
Eyebladder 1 is located very approximately half a cm lateral to the outer canthus of the eye. Palpate laterally to find the lateral orbital margin. Mark your point just on the edge of that orbital margin.
Madam Labs.
Be careful not to move back into this fleshy area because there are other points here.
Sanjaw.
Sanjaw.
Sanjiao 23 is located towards the lateral end of the eyebrow in a nice dip on the supraorbital margin. If you palpate towards the end of the eyebrow, most people will find there's a nice cleft in the bone.
Ang ganda ng training niyo.
Sarap ko yung pala yung parang bonus.
Extra point supreme yang is located half a cm posterior to the midpoint of the line joining outer canthus and the lateral extremity of the eyebrow. Make a measured line, come halfway, move back half a cm until you reach this fleshy area which is lateral to the lateral orbital margin.
Kakatabi yung mga words.
Paano yan kung karayo?
Gallbladder 14.
Ante. Karayo.
Gallbladder 14 is located above the pupil looking directly forwards, 1 cm superior to the eyebrow. To locate this point, you need to stand directly in front of the person, have them look forwards. Remember the distance from the centre of the glabella to the anterior hairline is 3 cm, which enables you to calculate your 1 cm. You can locate this point in a dip that's formed when the brow starts to come away from the skull.
Nakaalis ka naman?
Mahirap yung laki. Hindi yan, mas nalagi.
Ha?
Extra point seal hall is on the anterior midline on the glabella, directly between the medial ends of the eyebrows.
Yan ka. Opening ka rin. Meron dyan din.
Gallbladder 13 is located half a cm into the anterior hairline, 2/3 of the distance from the anterior hairline to stomach 8.
Ay, inte. Kay
Ano
sasre.
siya, pa-triangle. Triangle.
Kay sasre.
Sastre. Sastre na kalbo.
Stomach 8 is located directly superior to stomach 6 and stomach 7. So run your finger up in a line from stomach 6 to stomach 7, projecting up into the corner of the head until you're in a nice depression just superior to the temporalis muscle.
Tatandaan nyo lang yung buhok doon sa may hairline, di ba? 220 or CP20.
220 is located in relation to the midpoint between the glabella and the occiput.
Ito yung itong gamitin.
Place the heel of your palm on the glabella and the occiput. Fold your fingers around the skull to find the midpoint. 220 is located 1 cm posterior to that midpoint. It typically lies in a nice dip. There are several other nice dips slightly further back, which are the dew points. So don't be tempted to go further back than 1 cm posterior to that midpoint.
Ito lang.
O, itutok mo dyan. alam yung points, maraming nakatusok sa kanila.
Stomach 9 is located on the side of the neck on a contour with a laryngeal prominence. It's in between the sternocleidomastoid and the thyroid cartilage. Important thing here is to palpate medially across the sternocleidomastoid and feel for the carotid artery. This point must be located medial to the carotid artery so that you mark it in between the carotid artery and the thyroid cartilage.
Bumalik na nga.
Bumalik na siya, madam.
Tapos
So,